Good afternoon. Welcome to the Uckfield Chamber Monthly Podcast. So thank you for joining us if you're joining us live, or also if you're catching up with us later. For those of you who are listening now, we'd love to hear from you. So please drop us a message in the chat. Let us know who you are, where you are, what you're doing. And also if you have any questions for our guests later, we'd love to hear from you. So firstly, let's just take a moment to introduce ourselves. So I'm Claire Allen, Treasurer of the Chamber and also Senior Partner of Team 4 Bookkeeping, based in the lovely old roller mill in Uckfield. And Chris Dowling with me, my co-host. You'd like to introduce yourself, Chris?
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much, Claire. Very good to see you. Yes, I'm Chris Dowling. I'm the Vice President of the Uckfield Chamber. Very pleased to be in that position. I'm a business consultant. I'm a business mentor. I live in Uckfield. I'm based in Uckfield. I work with a lot of Uckfield and area district-based clients, helping them support their businesses and improve their businesses. That's what I do. So very pleased to be here and very pleased to be the co-host with Claire today. We've got a lot of information for you. We've got some guests to talk to as well as we work our way through. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you, Chris. And I must just mention in the back room today, we have Gordon Manklow from Relativity and Gary King from Ashdown Radio, who are our backroom boys doing all the directional stuff and the techie bits in the background for us. So as with all of our podcasts, we have special guests today. We'll be talking to them shortly. So today we are going to be welcoming Mark Vasson and Glenn Davidson from Tamango, who are a brand and digital marketing agency. So I love digital marketing. I'm very, very interested in that. And I've been wanting to get somebody from a company who can talk all about that to us on the show. So I'm very pleased to be welcoming them today. First off, though, Chris is going to give us all the local business news. So if I hand over to you, Chris, you can fly through all the interesting bits that are going on in town.
Okay. Thank you, Claire. Yeah, a number of bits of business information to mention. Had an additional one this morning. Firstly, the co-op shop up at the Hardens end of the town. It's been a long time coming, and there was some mystery and some intrigue before Christmas as to what was happening and where it was. I think it was just a matter of their operational situation, I heard. However, they are opening, I understand, today. I've driven past a few times in recent days. There are lights on, there's activity there. So I understand they're opening today. In addition to Uckfield, so we have we have Tesco's one end of the town and the Co-op at the other end of town. So well provided and well suited. So their opening hours are every day, 7 o'clock to 10 o'clock, or that's what their email told me. Going on from there, some good news by Uckfield Chamber member, Buxted Park Hotel. Those of you who came to the members meeting in January, it was at the Buxted Park Hotel. Great venue, wonderful venue for all kinds of business events and wedding events and functions. So we're well served by Buxted Park. They've won a highly commended accolade in the Wedding Industry Awards as the best wedding venue. So I think congratulations to them for that. My daughter, when she got married 3 years ago, we had the reception at Buxted Park. They were superb. So personal testimonial for how good they are for weddings. So if you're thinking about tying the knot and looking for a good venue, they're highly commended, and my personal experience as well. Moving on from there, Chamber member 3 Acre Brewery. Now they're out Black Boys, Eastern Green area. It's a micro brewery. They're expanding, they're developing. They did a presentation at a chamber meeting back in September. 3 young men, very entrepreneurial, very energetic, very enthusiastic, and they're making great progress. They've recently made further investments in the business. They produce craft beers, so micro brewery, very interesting, very tasty, and they're going on from there. Jamie Newton, the one of the 3 young men who runs it, says they've had a great Christmas trade beyond expectations. They are going from strength to strength. So good news for a new Uckfield-based local business. Finding not so much a business as just some developments in the town centre. We've been waiting quite a long time for the new bus station to be built, to be developed. It's all part of the modernisation programme in Uckfield. I've heard on the grapevine that it's sometime in the summer. The plans that are being proposed will take effect. The work will be done. There'll be 2 new bus shelters. There'll be a new cycle shelter. There'll be a new footway and access to the town centre. So positive news for bus users, positive news for people using public transport into the town and out of town, and very much in the town centre. There was one final one I wanted to mention on the business side, on local businesses. This was the stop press, came in only as we started this program. You'll be aware of what was the ice cream bar and cafe at the top of the town next door to the volunteer centre. Unfortunately, that business closed down. We're always sad to see local businesses that close, whatever the reasons may be. However, we have spotted, and our observers and our spotters have noticed that there's activity going on there. It's coming back to life. There's someone moving in there. We don't know who they are, don't know when they will be, but that premises will be hopefully in action fairly soon. Watch this space as to who is there, what they're doing, and what they're selling. But any new business coming into Uckfield is always good for Uckfield. So that's all the business news. There's always a lot going on. Anything you know about businesses coming into town, anything you might know about new businesses, do let us know so we can give them similar publicity. That's fine. Right. Thank you. I think hand back to Claire now, who will introduce our guests. Claire.
Thank you, Chris. Well, yes, I'm intrigued to know if anybody has any word on the street as to what's going to be moving into the old ice cream bar. Always intrigued to know what's going on. Yeah, Buxted Park Hotel, congratulations to them. Actually, it's great to hear all this good news going on locally. I have to be honest, I have a special birthday coming up fairly shortly, and I have booked afternoon tea there with my family. So I'm very much looking forward to that. It's a lovely venue.
And very nice.
3 Acre Brewery, gosh, they're going from strength to strength. And actually, wouldn't they be great guests? I think we ought to persuade them to come and have a chat to us and tell us about their business and bring some samples potentially as well.
And the good thing there is they're 3 young chaps. They're all in their, I believe, their early mid-20s. Really sort of going places and doing things. So it's microbreweries are hard work. There's a lot of them, and to be competitive and to have that USP. Very, very important. So yeah, let's get them along sometime. Let's get them to come and talk to us about what they do and bring some samples. I think that is absolutely essential. That's a prerequisite.
Yeah, excellent. Well, that's all fantastic news. So thank you for that, Chris. So yes, moving on to far more interesting things now. We're going to introduce our guests. So hopefully they'll pop up onto the screen any moment. So Mark Vasson and Glenn Davidson, Chris on my mind, Glenn Davidson from Tamango, brand and digital marketing agency. So we're going to hear all about you today, hopefully, and about what you do and what is digital marketing. I know that's something that's very, very key at the moment to all businesses. Everyone's looking to how they can position themselves in the world these days, and digital marketing obviously comes into that, and your brand awareness, of course. So yeah, hi Glenn, hi Mark.
Hi.
Thanks for having us on.
No problem at all. We're very pleased to meet you.
Yeah, that's great to be here. Yeah, so just to kind of quickly summarize who we are and what we do. I founded Tamango just over 10 years ago. We're a brand and digital agency, as Claire said. We help our clients to attract more of their perfect customers. And we do that by helping them with their brand identity, so creating the right first impression. And we also help them to maximize their digital presence. So in all its forms, their website, their search visibility, their other digital marketing, and their social media, which is what we're going to be talking about today. But in particular, what we're going to cover, Glenn and I, is how you can get the most out of your digital marketing with the right brand strategy. And this is something that, unfortunately, a lot of businesses, even well-established businesses, haven't given very much thought to. And it really forms the foundations for all of your marketing activity. So it is very important that you have at least given it some thought and then can start to apply it to make sure that you're getting the best value out of everything that you're doing. So I'm going to talk a little bit, first of all, about what we mean when we're talking about brand strategy in this instance. Explain how you can start thinking about it and why it's a benefit to you. And then Glenn's going to come in and talk to a little bit about how you can apply that. So when we're talking about brand strategy today, what we're focusing on is what we call your positioning. And in layman's terms, what we mean by that is, what is it that you do best or better than most, and who do you do it for? So it's understanding who your customers are, where you're going to find them and what you're going to say to them. If you have weak positioning, so you maybe haven't even thought about this at all, the problems that you'll face are that you don't stand out from your competition. You're trying to be all things to all people. This tends to lead to what a lot of our clients, when they come to us, describe as this scattergun approach. I'm just trying everything. I don't really know where to start with my marketing. And then, of course, you spread yourself too thin. You're spending a lot of time, energy, money trying to win customers against an increasing field of competitors. Often you end up competing on price, and that's a slippery slope, as we know, because there'll always be somebody that can do it cheaper than you. And the net result is often that when you do get inquiries, they're not a very good fit. You end up taking on business and customers that aren't ideal, and that will erode your profits, and it will make life just much harder than it needs to be. The opposite of that, if you have strong positioning and you've worked out who it is that you want to be attracting as customers, then you can really double down on that, and you make it your point of difference. You start to get noticed in the marketplace, and instead of having this scattergun approach, if you like to, we'll continue with the metaphor, you can become more like a sniper, and you can be much more targeted in where you're investing your energy in your marketing, and that you are reaching out to the right people. You've got the insights into their needs or their industry or whatever it is that makes them fit your criteria. And if you become an expert in your space, rather than having to compete on price, you can actually start to charge a premium as you become the go-to person. So let's look at an example of what we mean by that. There are typically two main ways that you can figure out your positioning. One is known as vertical positioning. The other one is horizontal positioning, funnily enough. So the vertical option you may have heard of. You may have heard people referring to, oh, what verticals do you operate in? Usually that is sectors. So particularly if you're a B2B business, you might choose to focus on certain sectors that you want to work with. So our example here is a brand agency that has decided they would like to work with, or they are very good at working with, architects, financial advisors, and the healthcare sector. The benefits of strong vertical positioning are, firstly, it's much easier to know where to find your prospects. So if you're focusing on, let's say, healthcare, you know that there are certain events that you can go to where you'll find loads of people from that industry. There'll be certain publications. There'll be places online where they hang out. So rather than having to try and cast a very wide net, which can be ineffective, you can be much more focused and make sure you're getting in front of the right people. You can also develop your expertise in that particular sector. So let's say that you want to work with architects. You start to understand much more about what their particular problems are, their challenges. You can talk their language, you understand the terms that they use. That is going to mark you out as being different and better than one of your more generalist competitors. As I alluded to a little bit earlier on, that expertise has value to it that your customers may well be prepared to pay more for. If they feel that they can get the right end result, solution, might be a product from you, because it is tailored to their particular requirements, they may be prepared to pay more for it. There's also one other nice little benefit from vertical positioning, which is if you have a customer in a particular sector and they move job, then there's a good chance they're going to move to another company that's in the same sector. So you may well win a new customer, but also keep the old one as well. So these are all some nice benefits of strong vertical positioning. The second way, which is this horizontal positioning, tends to be specializing in a discipline or a type of product or type of offering, but it could also be by demographics as well. So you could be the person that delivers your service to, I don't know, the Asian market or to 18 to 25-year-olds, something like that. But in our example here, we're looking at the particular discipline within our example, a marketing agency. So they might decide to work across different sectors with different groups of customers, but they are specialists in, for example, brand design, or they're specialists in pay-per-click, Google Ads. If we look at the advantages of horizontal positioning and choosing to niche that way, one of the advantages is that you maintain a varied and interesting customer base, because some people, they might decide, I don't really want to just work with financial advisors for every day for the rest of my life. Fair enough. You also reduce the chances of a conflict of interest. You know, how many architects could you work with and genuinely give them all of your insights without conflicting with one of the others? And there's also this thing about, excuse me, there's not having all of your eggs in one basket. So if that particular sector was to be affected by something out of your control, what sort of impacts that can have on your own business? And then finally, if you're an expert in a particular field, there is an increased chance of you working with much bigger clients. So let's imagine a big corporate is looking for some help with their Google Ads. If you're a specialist in Google Ads, you've got a good, half decent chance of them coming to you as experts. But I think that chance is much less if it's just one of half a dozen things that you are claiming to be an expert in. You can choose to position your business with both vertical and horizontal. So you could choose to be Google Ads expert for a particular sector, for instance, and that will make your marketing very focused indeed.
You've explained a lot of the benefits there, Mark. Do you mind me asking why you think more businesses don't do this from the offset or further into their operation years? Why they don't start considering it?
Yeah, and that's a classic question that I get asked whenever I'm talking to people about this. I think it's quite simply a fear that if I focus on this one thing, or even two or three things, what about all these other people that I might be missing out on? I can relate to that. I've experienced that myself as our business has grown. But in my experience working with other clients, the reality is that doesn't play out. You get all the benefits of standing out and being more memorable. So when people are talking to you about what you do, and you're the third person they've met in the last couple of months who does that thing, you will stand out and be more memorable, get all of those advantages. But you will still get people that will come along and approach you and say, look, I don't think I'm the perfect fit for you, but I'd still like to work with you. So in reality, I don't think that actually happens. And the other thing I think that stops people from doing it is they feel like they've got to make a decision to do one thing overnight. I'm going to bet the farm on this one niche. And you don't have to do it like that. What's far better, I think, is to do it in stages. And I've got a slide that sort of demonstrates that here, where you may, let's say, like us, you mostly work with B2B businesses. That could be your starting point. Within that, you may identify, and this isn't us, but you may identify what actually we have got a bit of a back catalogue of working with professional services. That's our sweet spot within B2B. And you might live with that for maybe 6 months or a year, and you may form your marketing around that, and that's working. And you're thinking, yeah, this is good. We're attracting good business from people who are prepared to pay the right amount. And then your next stage might be, do you know what? Within the professional services, it's actually mostly accountants that we really like working with, and that we've got real expertise in. And then the final step might be, well, actually, the main thing that we do for accountants is Google Ads. And then you've got really quite a narrow niche that is going to be attractive and help you be very focused with your marketing. I've got a second example here where, let's say you're a B2C business and you've identified that you're a retail business. You may decide over time that really where your strength lies is in men's fashion. And then the next step after that might be, actually within that, what we're really all about is, in this example, high-end casual wear. So you can see how you don't have to go all in overnight, which, yeah, that would terrify me, frankly. But if you do it in stages and build your confidence around it, I think that's a much better way of doing it.
You touched on it there, Mark. Going all in is sort of one mistake people make. Are there any other sort of common mishaps or sort of pitfalls that people fall into while trying to either reposition or sort of position themselves in the first instance?
The thing that I see time and time again is people just being too broad, trying to cover too many bases. And I get it, comes back to this fear of missing out. It does take us an amount of courage, I think, to develop a strong positioning. But, you know, as I was talking to Claire about before we came on, running a business, it's not easy. Sometimes you have to make those challenging decisions. Don't spread yourself too thin. That's the thing that I see time and time again. As I said, even with well-established businesses.
And I guess from my side, being a digital marketer,
Yeah.
my inclination is to look at how customer perception and customer feedback can inform all the strategies we put in, whether that's branding, whether it's the digital marketing campaigns we're doing for the next 12 months. How customer-led do you think positioning should be? Do you think it's something that feedback plays an important part in?
I think it plays a part, but I think there is a danger that you would lose control of your own destiny, if you like, if it was the thing that led the way. And often customers don't really know what it is that they want or need from your business. So I think was it Henry Ford who said, if I asked my customers what they wanted, I would have just given them faster horses. And I think that's a truth that you do need to be the one driving it, no pun intended, yourself. But customer feedback, I think, is really important to kind of sense check, if you like. And of course, these are things that will evolve over time, and customers' needs will change over time as well. So feedback's important, but I would say don't let it lead your decision making.
Unless your customers are jockeys, in which case faster horses is always good.
Yeah, exactly. You've hit on the one very niche example where that works. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully that's given everyone a little bit of an insight into how you can think about your positioning. Glenn, we were asked to talk about digital marketing and social media, which is your area of expertise. Do you want to talk a little bit about how choices around your digital marketing and where to focus your efforts can be informed by the whole positioning and brand strategy bit?
Yeah, I think the first step here is understanding your positioning and how that relates to the audience you're actually trying to market to. Too often we see the trap these days where, especially with startups and SMEs, we see that they feel there's a demand to market everywhere at once.
Oh.
And that can be exhausting, especially to business owners and sort of founder managed companies, because they're just trying to hit too many touch points all at the same time.
Yeah.
So the sort of thing I implore people to do at the start is focus on what platforms are going to give you the best return on your time investment. So, for example, for those watching on YouTube, you can see the chart in front of me. But to summarize it, what we're looking at is different social media platforms and how that relates to their gender usership in the UK and their age range. So you take something like Instagram. It relates to being more female driven for that sort of millennial age bracket, early 20s to mid 20s, that sort of age demographic. Now, if you're, to use your example that you brought up before, focusing on high-end men's fashion, you may not want to start on that. You may want to start by focusing on LinkedIn as a means to hit your audience, or alternatively, customizing your content to hit the audience you know you're going to see the most sort of viewership within. Taking that example, if you're going to reach out on Pinterest, look at doing things like gift guides. How do you improve your husband's fashion sense? That sort of thing. You start to see how you can tailor the content to the actual platforms you're using. Figure out which ones are going to give you the best return.
That's a really interesting point that you've hit on there, that your chart shows the demographics of the different platforms. But of course, it might not be your primary audience that you're trying to reach through these. It may be your secondary audience. Your example there of actually reaching the person who's going to buy the thing as a gift for someone else.
Yeah, definitely. There's two layers to this. I mean, you can do it off primary and secondary audiences, but there's also that element of we've got limited resources. Most businesses in this space do. We're not your Amazons, we're not your McDonald's, we're not going to be able to invest massive sums into all of these platforms. So there is a bit of strategy behind choosing where to best focus your efforts. And all of this data is readily available. And it's great to work with agencies and partner on that. But it's a really good starting point to figure out, right, we've got limited resource. Where do we commence with this strategy?
So you're saying that businesses don't need to be so worried about being over all of the platforms, because this is something that I see so much when I'm talking to business owners. And actually, when you say to them, do you know what, for your audience, I don't think you need to be on whatever it is, X or Instagram, you can almost see them sort of breathing a sigh of relief. It's like, oh, that's great, one less thing to have to worry about.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, what I say to our clients is that you start with the question, why are we doing this on each of the platforms? So when you're building your Facebook profile, for example, why are you building a Facebook profile? If the answer is the same for all those different touch points, you're probably doing it out of feeling like you should rather than necessity.
The tick box exercise.
Yeah. And there should be some value to your customer on each of these platforms. Otherwise, there's not a lot of point you being there anyway. And what I encourage a lot of people to do is think of the platforms differently. So the value you give on those platforms doesn't have to be the same value. For example, a lot of businesses now are finding success more on the customer service side through Facebook. So rather than using it as a place to promote and try and sell to their customers, it's a great space to communicate one-on-one through things like Messenger or comments. and build that sort of advocacy with their customers, and then using something like their PPC channels or Instagram is very inspirational and gives that sort of high-end feel to a lot of products. So it's a much easier platform to sell directly on. Now, like I said, the value of those customers isn't going to be the same. Responding to a happy customer is not going to be the same as selling directly to one, but that doesn't mean they both don't have value in their own right.
Yeah, yeah.
If we can just go back to the slide I was on, sorry, very quickly. To sort of round this off, what I've done is come up with a strategy to help business owners with their initial implementation of social media. So I developed a system called Pi with 2 E's, so Pi.
Yeah.
A bit more fun. And how this works is it's a breakdown of what your content should be when you're starting out. 25% split between all 4 areas, and the Pi stands for promote, inspire, entertain, and educate. Too often businesses start and they begin with promote and educate, and they just go between the two, and that results in 1 week we'll share a blog post or relevant industry news, and the next week we'll talk about our products, and you just sort of ping pong between these 2 pieces of content. And what you're not doing is giving value to people that aren't at that later stage of their customer journey.
Okay.
So if you can balance your content between these 4 pillars, not only do you spread the sort of engagement types you're getting with your audience, but you also figure out what works for your business. One of the really famous examples is Innocent Smoothies, and how they figured out that using Twitter purely to entertain and engage with the audience that way meant that their brand awareness became phenomenal sort of within a few months. And they stopped doing everything else on Twitter because they figured out that was their key for their platform. Most business owners, it's going to take some time to figure that out. So if you start with these sort of fundamental pillars, you've got somewhere to work from.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question there, Glenn?
Yeah.
So, because one of the things that I hear a lot from business owners is that they struggle to come up with ideas for content. So your Pi format is really useful. But the other thing that I hear is where business owners sometimes have a reluctance to use social media at a personal level, there's kind of resistance to it, and they'll say things like, "Oh, I don't think anyone's going to be interested in me posting what I had for breakfast." Extreme example, but what you're saying that even for small businesses, inspiring and entertaining stuff has its place.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's worth putting the time in to invest that, to start encouraging that engagement. And that brings me on to the sort of the last 2 points I've got here. There's 3 quick algorithm tips I give to every client. And that's limit hashtags to 2 or 3 per post, and only if they're relevant. If not, don't include them at all. Keep text in the text box and the image upload box for imagery. Too many times I see people putting images up with text over the top, and that just hurts your engagement rate. And finally, do not put links in every single post because it drives traffic away from the social media platforms, and that is what they want to avoid. They want to keep everyone on their platforms. So it's a common mistake people make, but I think it's quite sort of logical once you tell them as to why to not do that. And the final point is just to engage with those early advocates as much as possible, whether that means sort of commenting with them or directly messaging them. I think that's a real key part to starting to build that community.
Okay, so they can become, if you like, brand champions, brand ambassadors, call them what you want. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think we're on to our final slide. Which, just to wrap up, I just wanted to give some instances where you might want to consider other channels away from social media. So the SEO and the content side is more for engaging with passive people who may not be aware of your brand, but aware that they need a solution to be solved, it's on you then to educate and inform via your channels and make sure they're coming to you to do their research. Email marketing is fantastic for engaging with an already sort of established customer base. PPC and influencer marketing are much more about cold outreach for bringing in that first audience before they're aware of your brand. So you can see how they wrap up with social media to sort of make sure you're on all these different touch points, but do think of them as different audiences, and just don't approach all of them with the same brush.
Okay, that's great. Thanks, Glenn. Well, hopefully that's shed some light on how knowing your brand strategy is going to inform which channels you're going to use in your digital marketing, and particularly around social media, which I know is a very hot topic, and also how you're going to use them, the frequency, the message, and I like the point you've made about treating each of those platforms differently, that they're not all the same. And I think what I take away from this is that there's no kind of quick route to doing this well. You need to be prepared to put the time and effort into doing maybe fewer things, but doing them better.
Yeah, definitely. And I just wanted to answer the question that we had come through in the chat about how many posts should we be adding links to? And my advice on that is, once you've done the fundamentals properly and you've created a touch point, you can do it sparingly. So say 1 in every 4 posts could have a link on it, as long as you've established that most of your content on that platform is to engage with your audience on that platform. So it's more about when can you break the rule to do these things rather than it being your rule in the first instance. So I hope that helps.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Mark, Glenn, amazing. Right. I was totally absorbed in that conversation. So thank you. And I have to be honest with you, in my own industry, so accounting and bookkeeping, a lot of those points, particularly on niching and specialisms and so on, are so key and so topical at the moment. I mean, I've been in business for, gosh, 25 years plus, and I'm a pretty general practice, but these days I'm being told all the time, you must niche, you must niche. And so for me to turn that, make that change is terrifying, actually, and I don't know quite how you'd go about it. So it's so much better and easier to do that when you're setting up as a new business, I imagine. You know, scary because you want to take on every client that's been thrown at you and say yes to everyone who offers you business, but starting out that way with that really clear mindset, I imagine, is really, really powerful.
It is, yes. I meet a lot of businesses that do exactly what you've described when they start. They want to survive. They'll take whatever they can get. I did it myself. However, it does create problems further down the road for you. And if you can do that thinking when you start out, and you can position yourself as occupying this particular space in your market, it's going to give you a head start, really. Yes, it is scary, but you will reap the rewards. That's with a lot of things. It's not easy, but you get out what you put in. Yeah,
and it's, well, and for marketing, and there were so many areas of your business, if you're very, very focused on a particular area or a niche or whatever it is, you know who your customers are, then it's so much easier to sell to them, become the expert, they get to know you. It's so many positives to that. And you, of course, can charge premium fees as well. Win-win.
I like your point about that, because selling value is always very important. Don't sell on price, sell on value. I see so many businesses just want to sell on price, and it's always tempting, and sometimes the market is so competitive, you've got to bring that one in. That's part of the armory. But also, don't put all your eggs in one basket. Again, there are many, particularly small businesses, who will rely on 1 or 2 clients, and that is very, very dangerous. You've got to have some breadth to where you're marketing to, who you're marketing to, but also who you're selling to and who's buying from you. And again, I've seen many businesses who have said, oh, we've got 1 or 2 wonderful clients. Yes, they're okay till they close down, go bust, or the person you're dealing with moves on and goes somewhere else. And then it's pretty rapid change. So always have to take that breadth. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Very important.
In our industry, we call that having a gorilla client. So there's this massive client in your eyes that sort of sits in the corner and scares you because you're worried that they're going to leave. So you start doing more and more work, but less and less. It's really unhealthy. So we have a rule of thumb that we won't have at any one point one client that takes up more than 20% of our total revenue, which I think is healthy and about the right sort of limit.
Yeah, you said it before I said it. 20% maximum for a big client. Big clients are all well and good, but 20% maximum to avoid complications, difficulties, and worse especially in a small business. So, good.
Well, fantastic. Okay. I don't know if we have any questions. Don't we have any other questions from the audience? I know we had one that Glenn's already answered. So thank you very much. But that was a really, really fantastic conversation. So thank you for that. I really enjoyed it. Yeah. And I hope everybody shares this all over YouTube, and everybody watches it from Uckfield Chamber. All the businesses could learn something from this, I'm sure. But thank you guys for your time. Lovely to meet you both, and I'm sure we'll be seeing you again.
Pleasure. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Simon. Thank you. Right, we've got a few things to talk about before we leave, and the producers got them before I got there, so I take a breath. These are chamber events, which the Uckfield Chamber is organising, which we're working on. Now, the first event, which you can't come to, is tomorrow because it's already sold out. It's our networking breakfast at the Uckfield Civic Centre. It's that popular. We've sold 40 tickets, and that's our capacity. So that's a tribute to how successful these breakfasts are, how nice the breakfasts are, and how good they are for business. So please look out for the next one. We'll come on to date for that later on. But if you can't get there tomorrow, we're sorry, we won't be seeing you. An event you can get to is our virtual networking meeting. This is online, as it suggests. So you have to prepare your own breakfast, make your own coffee, make your own toast. But the next meeting we will have online will be Wednesday, the 6th of March, 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. Open to chamber members, open to anyone who wants to come. Ian Noble, our director, will be sending out the link a day or two beforehand. Please do come. Usual procedure, minute or so to say who you are, what your business does. We have a speaker as well coming to that. That will be very good. So Wednesday week for that one. On the same day, it's the Mega March quiz at the Uckfield Civic Centre charity event, open to anyone. Please do come along. They're some of the happy faces who attended last year. It was a very good event, a very successful event. And I believe last year it was for the Sussex hospices. I'm not quite sure who it's for this year, but great evening. £17. I think that's per person rather than perhaps per team. I think there's supper provided. Should be good. Do get along. Do come along and support it. You can get other information from the chamber. The next event is coming up in a moment. I think it's the AGM. It is indeed the AGM, the Chamber AGM, our annual general meeting, which will be held on Wednesday. Thursday, 21st of March at the East Sussex National. Now, this is a good event for members because you don't have to pay for it. This is paid for, subsidised by the Chamber. So do come along to that. A new committee will be elected. New events will be mentioned. And great venue as well. So please do get along to that. If you're not a member, then perhaps make some inquiries about membership, which would entitle you to come along to that meeting. So a Chamber AGM on the 21st of March. And finally, the next networking breakfast. This is the one you can book. This is the one you can come to. It's on the 12th of April. So a month or two ahead. It's being held at Ridgewood Village Hall. I'm sure you all know where that is. And Ian, our Chamber Director, is very closely connected with Ridgewood Village Hall, which is also run. The chairman of the committee is Karen Bedwell, who's also a member of the Uckfield Chamber. So it'd be great to support Ridgewood Village Hall on that occasion. And bookings will be open. I think they're open now. So please look at that and please come along to what will be a very good and very successful date. Hopefully we'll get a full house again as we're getting for tomorrow. Right. Any other events we need to talk about? I think that probably does cover all the events that we've got planned over the next few months. Do take another look. Go to the events page on the Chamber website to get more information and to book as well. We always book everything through Eventbrite. And obviously, as we go beyond April, there will be other events coming up further into spring and into summer. Please look out for them. Please do come along. If you want to join the Uckfield Chamber, we're always very pleased to hear from businesses in the Uckfield area and close by who are interested in applying. We let most of them in. We sometimes turn people away, but we're very nice and very charitable, and always pleased to see new member applications, which are dealt with very promptly. So please do. Finally, the next of these podcasts will be on Thursday, the 28th of March. That's the day before Good Friday. It'll be the usual time at 12:45. I think it's Claire and Ian who are presenting that one. I won't be there that day. You'll all be pleased to hear, but I'm sure Claire and Ian will do a great job in presenting it. And then we'll have other dates into April and May and beyond into summer, but not August. Not August. So next one is Thursday, 28th of March. Please come along. We'll have another very interesting speaker at that event. Okay, I think we're about there, aren't we, Claire? I think we're...
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Just one point to mention. On the slides, there was an error for the quiz. The quiz night, it's not £17 per team. It's actually going to be £20 per person to enter.
There we go.
The £17 came about from the early bird booking, and it was per person, not team. So a little error there. We do apologise. But all events,
thanks for clarity.
All events can be booked through our website, Uckfield Chamber. So please come and join us. And I think one final note to mention is the Ashdown Radio.
Yes, of course. Yes, sorry.
Expo. I think you were going to talk about that, Chris. Have you got the details?
Yes. Apologies to Gary King, who I know is backstage today, but Gary would be very upset if I failed to mention the Ashdown Radio Mini Expo and networking lunch on Wednesday, the 27th of March. Like the Chamber AGM, it's being held at the East Sussex National. Do come along. Great opportunity. There were 24 exhibition spaces available. 21 have been taken, so great demand for them. 3 left, 3 available. But if you want to come along just to be a visitor, just to network, just to attend and come to lunch, very welcome to do so. And I'm sure the lunch will be very good. It always is at East Sussex National. So do please put that in your diary. Local businesses, local people, local organisers connected to the Chamber. It'll be a very good occasion. I booked. I'm sure others who are here today have booked too. Claire's booked. There we are. Yeah. Come and meet us as well. Come and ask us about Uckfield Chamber podcasts and what the Chamber is doing. So please, Wednesday, 27th of March, East Sussex National. Check it out and book it. Please do. And Gary will be very pleased that I was reminded to say it. So there we are.
Thank you. Brilliant. Well, that's a wrap today, I think. Yeah, we just got slightly over time. So just on that note then, to thanks ever so much, Chris and my backroom boys, and to our special guests, Glenn and Mark from Tamango. So we'll see you next month, hopefully. Thanks, everyone, and bye.
Thank you, Claire. Thank you. Bye.